Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another amazing day of the LeagueCraft GG Classic, sponsored by not only LeagueCraft GG Chronicle, but the amazing gaming.stackexchange.com. And once again, after very many technical issues and getting people into games and everything, I get to cast with Rapid again. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Looks like we are back. I don't know how the scheduling goes on, but somehow, magically, we have appeared before you guys once again. This is going to be V8 versus Jpak and friends, and I guess we're going to go ahead and get into this. I'm glad to be back here with Optimus Tom casting the ggClassic for all of you guys once again. If you guys tuned in yesterday, I cast a lot of games yesterday. CLG had a bunch of games. Also had some Team Butts action there as well. So
or was it Terry Bradshaw? It all depends on the game you watched.
It was actually Tickle Butter, I believe. So history aside, if you guys tuned in yesterday, then shout outs for tuning in once again today, and we should have some more amazing matches coming your way as soon as we can get into this game.
And it looks like we have gotten into the picks and bans phase, so without further ado, let's go over here and do it in real time. Alright, so we have over here on the blue team, we're going to have V8 all lined up and ready to go. Purple side or red side when we get into game, because I have color blind mode on, just as a common courtesy. We have Jpak and friends, and we already see some bans going down. V8 opting to ban out Shen and Karthus. Karthus, not necessarily your normal kind of ban, although maybe a targeted ban at the other side. Shen, of course, though, is the all multi-purpose ninja who does everything. He slices, he dices, and he gets still cut a tomato. And they're opting to ban out Kennen as their third ban, the little annoying ninja, not nearly as overpowered as Shen, as some people might say, but he can go middle, he can go top, and heck, we've even seen being played in the bottom lane as an AD carry. So Kennen being another one of those champions you really just don't want to mess with if you have to. So
man, if any of you guys have been watching the OGN tournament live from Seoul, South Korea, then you know that AD Kennen is possible in every single lane, as I've seen him played in all three lanes down there. Apparently they know something we don't, but he will not be a factor this time around. Interesting that the first pick, or the first ban actually, was Shen. You usually see them, the first players force that ban off onto the second team, but it does look like that was already banned out by V8. So Muffy Cutie is going to go ahead and pick up the first pick in basically every tournament ever for the last few months, and that will be Janna. So the Goddess Slut of Assists is with us once again, and so it looks like V8 will be having that extra move speed buff from her passive. You'll probably see them combine that with a move speed jungler like Udyr or Shyvana, and we'll see if that's if they make me look good and make that prediction come true. As far as the other bans and picks are concerned, it looks like for bottom lane for Jpak and friends is going to be Taric and Kog'Maw. Usually you see that Nunu Kog'Maw lane that's been really popularized by a lot of European teams, but with all of their bans, they should be pretty set for a relatively safe bottom lane.
Yeah, and the thing is too, Taric does have a hard CC in that Dazzle stun, so it's gonna work out with Kog'Maw no matter what, because a lot of teams like playing this kind of standard, protect the Kog'Maw, or Nunu gives him the attack speed buff to really just help him farm up and harass in the lane, whereas Taric gives him more of a benefit of like an either aggressive or defensive just support in the bottom, where he's able to stun him, he's able to heal people up, and he's also able to run in there and shred people's armor by popping Shatter on them, which is just going to let Kog'Maw deal ridiculous amounts of damage regardless of that. So Taric, not a bad choice at all, as long as he's not jungle Taric, because right now he's got Smite up there, but we all know that they're probably going to wind up swapping around champions before the game actually starts, although I'm pretty sure jungle Taric would be an interesting thing to see. But I don't know, maybe there's a Lee Sin pick being picked up by V8, and he currently has Smite on him as well, so we might see Lee Sin going in the jungle. Now, I know all yesterday the teams like to prove me wrong when I was trying to predict where people were going, so we're probably going to wind up seeing this happen again, but I'm going to say that Lee Sin is in the jungle.
All right, well, I'm actually still going to stick with my move speed jungler prediction and see if we can see Lee Sin top lane. But the last two picks for V8 are coming up, and looks like your dog's pretty pumped to see exactly what they're going to pick up here.
Yeah, he is very excited about League of Legends. No joke. He's actually a range carry. You don't know it.
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
that's his breed.
As soon as, oh, there comes the Olaf. So Olaf is a jungler, not probably the best jungler. Does have AoE clears if you level Axe first, but if you do that, then you're not very effective at ganks. So we're going to see Olaf probably top lane with Lee Sin in the jungle. So that's pretty interesting. I think that, they're still going to benefit a lot from the Janna passive, but looks like they will have Nautilus on Jpak and friends to deal with in the jungle. So a little bit of the same kind of thing. Both of them have a skill shot when they come out for their ganks, except that Nautilus kind of pulls them to you. However, Olaf, I feel, definitely scales really, really hard late game, whereas probably not the same characteristics for Nautilus. Looks like the last picks for both teams will be their AP carries mid, and this will be Galio versus Kenkith, who will be playing Ryze.
See, I don't exactly know about this matchup because normally Galio is the quote-unquote magic resistance tank. He goes in the middle lane. He's pretty much a counter to most ability power-centric champions. We saw him against Brand yesterday in the ggClassic, and he just literally, Brand could not do a single thing against him. But then you have Ryze, who's also kind of known as a different sort of safe pick in the middle, where he's just this caster that bases off mana. He winds up being extremely tanky in the later stages of the game, and he's just usually regarded as a very, very safe choice in the middle lane. So I'm interested to see if both these quote-unquote safe picks are going to be too safe, and the middle lane might just go into this kind of stale farm kind of state.
Yeah, and you really see, it's kind of interesting that you see Galio coming out 4v8. Usually you want to pair him with a really strong AoE team, just so that while he's taunting everybody with his Idol of Duran ultimate, everybody else can pile the AoEs right on top of him, but you really don't see hardly any AoEs, and also, you don't usually pair a Janna lane or a Janna combo up with an AoE combo like a Galio, because her ult pushes everybody away, Galio draws everybody in. So I'm not sure if I'm quite digging the synergy on V8, but there is a lot going on for Jpak and friends. Let's talk about that for a second. They will have Irelia going top lane. Like we said earlier, they do have the Nunu Taric bottom lane, and in the jungle will be Onion Bagel on Nautilus. So I really like what they have going on bottom lane. The stun and the slow from the bottom lane will be able to just pretty much win a lot of trades, especially if they can coordinate those correctly. I don't like, however, their ability to escape from ganks. Both of them do have flash, and there is a cleanse on Kog'Maw. But I don't know, I think some Olaf ganks could be pretty effective just because of the massive damage coming out from bottom lane, as well as all of the Janna CC to aid in any gank attempts. Plus it's Lee Sin, so yeah, he does really, really well.
The thing is, too, like, between the bottom lane, you have Janna, you have who could slow people down. You have Graves, who just really deals damage. Out the jungle, you have Lee Sin, who's going to get in your face no matter what if he lands that Sonic Wave Resonating Strike combo. So I honestly don't think that Kog'Maw really need to pack that cleanse. Even if you look at the rest of the team, Kog'Maw will be able to cleanse out of Galio's ultimate, but that's basically the only kind of CC this team has. Olaf is just going to make a beeline for him anyway, which actually I kind of like the little bit of, it's not a huge synergy, but the passive Janna move speed with the Olaf, who's just going to activate Ghost, activate his ultimate, and make a beeline for that range carry Kog'Maw. He's trying to get targeted by the disabled, but he just can't be disabled because he's too strong for them. I just kind of like that idea, and I don't really think that Kog'Maw needs that cleanse as much as you might have thought he did. But on that bottom lane, they do have a slow, they do have a stun, and even though Janna's tornadoes, they could just walk around those and make sure they don't get caught in this awkward position where they're going to get slowed down by the Janna debuff. I kind of like the Kog'Maw Taric bottom lane a little more than the Graves and Janna, although Graves, he's just ridiculous. He's probably going to be able to just harass that Kog'Maw a lot early on, but once you hit level 6, I don't know if Graves is going to be able to be doing all the little dash kind of antics that he wants to if Kog'Maw's going to be laying down that living artillery every single time.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see the micro bottom lane. Definitely something about both of these teams is they're very skill-oriented. They have a lot of skill shots. Basically, every single person on V8 does have some form of skill shot, and for Graves, it's sort of an AoE skill shot, but I've definitely missed people with buckshot before, so I know exactly how unfortunate that is. Whereas for the purple team, Jpak and friends, they have a lot of click moves. I mean, they do have skill shots coming out from, I guess Kog'Maw has that with his slow, and Irelia has that with his ult. You have the hook coming out there from Nautilus. But a lot of click abilities. You have the click stun from Taric, the click snare from Ryze, and just a lot of CC, a lot of really solid CC from Jpak and friends. Whereas the CC for the blue team V8 is a little bit less devastating.
Yeah, definitely. And I see a lot of people in chat, the IRC chat, actually commentating about how Nautilus jungle is. And I know for a fact, we were talking about yesterday, we don't like Nautilus in the jungle too much. But, I mean, when we were watching the game yesterday, I believe it was the first game we were casting, it was just ridiculous at how Nautilus had those jukes for days, and he was just able to really position himself extremely well in fights. So I'm a little excited to see how Onion Bagel's going to deal with Nautilus in the jungle, but I still think in the grand scheme of things, I'd probably rather have a Lee Sin in my jungle rather than that Nautilus.
All right, well, we are closing into the beginning of the game. Delay period is almost over, so let's take this opportunity to let everybody know exactly what they're watching. This is ggClassic. Probably know that, but it is also sponsored by Gaming.Stack Exchange. They have furnished $5,000 to draw all of the top teams from all over North America and even Korea, if you want to count CLG. So they are all here tempted by that prize pool to go ahead and participate in this contest. If you want to go ahead and check out Gaming.StackExchange.com, they're an excellent question and answer site. You post your questions and you get answers, and you are, if you go ahead and do that, eligible to win a $250 graphics card, as well as entered into a raffle for 3,500 Riot points, which is pretty significant.
That's a hunk of change in Riot points money right there. I definitely could use some of that. I don't know about you, but I only have 5 champions I still have to buy, and that would buy them all and then leave me with like an IP boost or something for the rest of the runes I need. So there's a good chunk of Riot points change. Definitely check out our sponsor at Gaming.StackExchange.com. Also, don't forget to take a quick check over to GG Chronicle, where we also have our LeagueCraft side. They already have a bustling community with highly active forums for any stage of League of Legends player. LeagueCraft community will be giving you whatever it is you need whenever you need it. With incredible user-submitted content and feedback, make sure to jump into the conversation over on the LeagueCraft side at ggc.leaguecraft.com. And ladies and gentlemen, we will be loading into the game very, very shortly. It's just my League of Legends client did that little thing where for some reason it loads in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
Mine did the exact same thing, so you have nothing to worry about. Hopefully it'll load back in and become full screen once again, and everybody can see more than just, the top 3 champions loading in.
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, I'm going to show it really quickly because some people might know what I'm talking about. You see right here, the bottom right-hand corner, and then my awesome Rain Man background over there. So I just actually need to go into the settings, go to video, get this all set up, and we should be a-okay. Actually, it's not letting me do that, so I'm going to have to do the quit game and then go right back into League of Legends and hit reconnect button.
This is pretty interesting. I'm definitely trying to do the same thing on my end, but unfortunately, it's not quite there yet. Number 1.
Yeah, number 1 scroll. We got this. All right, now we're loading back up into the game. I am almost 100% loaded back in, so at least people will be able to see what is going on and if there are any jungle invades or any sort of shenanigans going down in the first game here by either side, either V8 or Jpak and friends. But I am now waiting on the screen ever so patiently. We can take a quick look. Oh, now we have some pings and everything going down, making sure my scroll speeds are reduced because some people don't like very fast scroll speeds. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now in Game 1 of the ggClassic, day number 4, round of 16. This is the second half of the games. We started about a little bit later than 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have over here Jpak and friends on the red side or the purple side, depends on if you're colorblind or not. And then we have over here on the blue team, V8 all lining up by their red buff, whereas Olaf is still kind of stuck up by the top part of their game. So very interesting choice of where they're laying out their champions right now. My scroll speed is actually down very, very low, but for some reason it's not responding that way. So, oh well, we'll have to deal with it for now, ladies and gentlemen. I promise no seizure-inducing camera shaking motions at this point. But we see Nautilus starting as usual over by his blue buff, going to be grabbing the wolves before moving on to that blue buff. But uh-oh, we see V8, everybody except for Olaf, who decides to go sneakily up to the top lane, are going to be trying for a jungle invade on Nautilus's blue. They know that Nautilus is really going to need that to spam his spells and reduce his cooldowns for him in the jungle. And we see over here, Rise notices what is up. They're going to be invading over here on the blue buff. They decide to back off, though, because it is a 4 versus 4. They thought maybe all 5 are there. Now they realize Olaf is up top against Aurelia. They're going to try to contest this jungle invade here. Lee Sin smites the blue buff, though, so they're going to get out of there. Ignites and stuns going down there. They put a stun down on Janna, but she is not going to fall easily. Now look at Nautilus taking so much more damage. He is getting extremely close to low. He's going to be able to flash and get out of there. Uh-oh, they're still going to pursue this, though, as Tarek decided he wanted to go back and try to get a stun down on Lee Sin, and he does. Exhaust, however, is going to go down on Rise in retaliation. They're chasing down towards the second turret of Jpak and friends, but they are going to back off without tower diving at level 1 because that never fares as well as you think it may go. So after a very prolonged level 1 fight, Lee Sin makes away with Nautilus's blue buff. Nautilus, already at extremely low HP, is going to have to try to run around over to his Wraiths and try to start red buff. He's just going to wind up going through the jungle a little bit slower, though, because he does not have that blue buff, as I said, to give him extra mana regeneration and the cooldown reduction he's going to need to really spam spells on those minions.
Yeah, that is what we were talking about earlier about the differences between the junglers that have been chosen. You know, Lee Sin got a perfect jungle route. He's already level 2. He's going to go over here and try to either pick up blue buff, or actually it looks like he's going to go over to red top lane. Nothing here is definitely getting busted on by Lexvink, who apparently knows how to hit that true damage, as Reckless Swing is just dealing some the damages that with the recent reworks on Irelia, she just cannot sustain. So she's already forced to play really defensively behind her turret. And Lee Sin actually going in there, finding Galio, and or finding Nautilus actually, and pushing him way out up to top turret, and then also taking his red buff as well. And that's just the weakness of Galio. He just has nothing. He can't 1v1, especially such a strong jungler as Lee Sin. And now Lee Sin is just all over his jungle, taking everything he could possibly want. So that's really gonna hurt Nautilus as Onion Bagel attempts to actually have some sort of an effect on this game.
Yeah, that's going to be a very, very big hindrance for Nautilus' jungle pattern. We already talked about earlier how we don't like Nautilus because he generally has a slow clear time, and he really does need that blue buff to get the spells that he's going to use to wind up clearing that jungle at, you know, a moderate to slow kind of rate. But now that he's lost his blue buff, lost his red buff, his ganking potential is severely hindered. He's lost his rates, except for one down there. His mini golems he took himself. The only thing he has up right now is a couple little lizards and his wolves. So Nautilus being at level 2 right now, whereas Lee Sin going back at level 3, probably going to be hitting level 4 as soon as he clears out his own red buff. And Nautilus not even making a motion to go try to counter jungle. He just wants to clear out his own jungle, try to sustain himself that way, but he's either going to have to go extremely gank heavy, which is going to be very, very weak at this point in the game, or just really just take way too long to clear, and he's going to be a non-factor in the early stages of this laning phase.
Well, speaking of being a non-factor, here he comes in here. Lexvink is going to be forced to jump over top of that, but with the Dredge Light going out, will it be enough? The flash comes out from nothing here, but Lexvink is just barely out of reach and will escape from that gank with less than 100 hit points. But now Lee Sin is coming in for the counter gank. Nautilus is seen walking back down towards mid lane, actually places a ward for his jungler, but here comes in the gank from Lee Sin. He does get stunned, but he has saved his Q. Will we see it? There we go, and down goes Irelia as Unstoppable X picks up first blood for V8.
That was very, very good. Nautilus tried to do the smart thing to go back and ward the river to make sure no Lee Sin counter gank was coming up top, but it was too little too late as Lee Sin was already waiting in the bushes stalking his prey. Excellent job of countering the gank from Unstoppable X, and now he's even following Nautilus through his jungle, saying, oh, is he at his small golems, is he going for his raids? And we could wind up seeing a counter jungle kill coming up here as now Galio is coming from the middle lane. Lee Sin already putting the ward down to see if Nautilus is going to be going there, and just hindering this Nautilus' farm in the jungle so much. I don't know what Nautilus is really going to be able to do anymore.
And this is so illustrative of everything we saw in Hanover, especially some of the more aggressive counter-jungling teams like, you know, between SK and or, you know, Moscow 5. You just saw the jungler does whatever he wants, wherever he wants, and whenever he's in danger, the nearest lane definitely steps up, comes out to help him. And that's what they're doing with Lee Sin. As soon as Unstoppable X went in there to counter-jungle the raids, you know, you saw Galio immediately respond by coming up there for him as well. Now, Unstoppable X is going to go back where he knows there's a ward, and so just going to let Nautilus know that, you know, now he can have his jungle back, but only for the time being, as he will be going back in lane. Haven't really paid too much attention to bottom lane right now, as just definitely seems like a really passive farm lane. Go ahead and check out the CS count. That is 46 to, I believe it's 28, so definitely going in favor of Graves. They do know where Nautilus is, as Lee Sin did place that ward in the Wraith Bush, and so now he's going to be going around to his wolves. We'll see if Lee Sin tries to continually aggravate him even more. Actually, it looks like he's going to jump to Galio. That's going to be two people mid lane, so Kengith is just going to be forced to back off for now.
Yeah, the thing is, too, this Ryze is already level 6 before Galio, because Galio did come up and help steal that red buff for Lee Sin. So a little bit behind the experience points and a little bit behind in the... I'm sorry, actually a little bit ahead in the farm somehow. That Righteous Gust on Resolute Smite just doing too much work. And here we see, again, Unstoppable X deciding to counter jungle the blue buff, wisely not giving it to Galio as he thought maybe it would take too much time. But Nautilus actually going to cover the middle lane was not anywhere near this. And we just see V8 just going for every single objective in the map right now. They've taken every single buff this game, and now they're taking a very early dragon at 7 minutes and 40-something seconds right here. 44, 45 seconds as everyone backs off except for Lee Sin. So that dragon's going to be up again at about 13 minutes and 45 seconds, and V8 is just reflecting in their gold lead right now. It looks like there's only one kill in the game right now, but they're already ahead by almost 2,500 to 3,000 gold.
And man, that is just such excellent coordination. I mean, this is looking like Team Dignitas from Kiev. They did a 4-minute dragon during there with just a Doran's Blade on Lee Sin. You're gonna see Jpak drop his ward down there, and he's like, there was a dragon here at some point, and so I'm not sure if they know exactly when that point was, but they're gonna go ahead and time it. And as you mentioned, they have taken, or V8 has taken every single buff this game. One more buff going over to Galio, so he will have that blue buff against Kenneth, who is already doing not so much damage. He did start the tier of the goddess, so that's gonna help his damage scale, but it's just not looking too good right now. As now Unstoppable X and Kenneth are gonna run down through the jungle. They're gonna camp out on that red buff. They do have it perfectly timed. They're just looking for Nautilus. They're like, where'd he go? Where'd he go? He went actually up to top turret as they did see them run down into his jungle. And just look at the warding so far for V8. The entire top jungle is pretty much visible as the ward does die there for the Wraith camp, but as it responds, Lee Sin will be there to pick it up, and that will not be there for Onion Bagel to come back to, who is already only level 5.
Hey, I'm just looking through the differences of the vision right now, and when I hit the F1 key to take a quick look at V8's vision, it's like the entire map is still covered. The only thing they don't see is the inside of Jpak and Friends' base. So it's like it's no difference between changing the vision between V8 and the spectator vision right now. And that is just paying off in dividends. Is this jungle Nautilus only level 5, just went back to pick up his Philosopher's Stone after having boots and a couple of health potions. Lee Sin already level 6, has his Madre's Razors, and it looks like he's actually only going to be going for a gank over here. But uh-oh, he looks like they finally might have caught onto his tricks as Nautilus can be popping some skills, and they just set a trap for Lee Sin, saying, hey, if you're just going to counter jungle and pull your lanes, we're just going to pull all our lanes and wait for you. And unfortunately, looked like Unstoppable X looked a little stoppable there as he ran into a bush full of enemy champions.
Yeah, so Galio's actually going to roll up the top lane. He is standing on top of a ward, so that's not going to work too well. Not sure why exactly he went up there. Might have tried for a gank, but I mean, you don't get much more obvious than that. So he might have also tried to be, contesting Onion Bagel's attempt at red buff. But I'm not sure that, well, this is going to be a really slow red buff for Onion Bagel, but B, I don't know. It's just, I'm not sure if it's too late now. I mean, Onion Bagel is going for a gold per 5 jungle route instead of going for offensive or defensive item. He's just going to pick up those gold per 5s and hopefully allow those to help him to sustain, get back up in the gold count as he has been counter juggled so effectively. There is a ward there, but top lane, Lexvig apparently knows his bounds as he did almost die there. I was so scared for him right there, but he survived with just enough health. That's those vicious strikes definitely paying off, allowing him the last burst of damage to take down Irelia.
Uh-oh, but we're going to meanwhile on the top lane here. We're going to see Onion Bagel coming in for a gank. Is his ultimate going to be enough to melt down Olaf? Yes, it is. So Olaf overstaying his welcome just a little bit. And now Onion Bagel, we said, was down by about a level and a half. He's hit level 7 already, whereas Lee Sin is level 6. So now the tables have turned after one little patient gank in the woods. Nautilus with a nice gank up top after Olaf just overstayed his welcome just a little bit too much. And now, Nautilus looks like he might actually be coming back into the jungle game now.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. He did get that kill, so that's going to give him that bonus experience. I think it was hilarious how he just popped his depth charge, and Olaf was trying to run away, but you cannot run away from that. Actually, I believe you can run away from it. If you, I believe if you go more than 2,000 units away from where the depth charge was initially cast, it does peter out and just explodes. So I actually learned that from Gaming.Stack Exchange, so go check that out where you can find all sorts of other info. But as far as Jpak and friends are concerned, they're still down about 2,000 gold, but they're definitely coming back in it. It looks like we're going to have some Muffin Cutie on Jpak action. Jpak's actually going to get the stun off, but then just go ahead and head back on out. Rise warding over the wall with an excellent little ward trick to skip the ward a little bit farther than it was supposed to go, but Unstoppable X, Takashi X, and looks like Muffin Cutie are all kind of rolling around here in the mid lane, and it looks like we're going to have this roaming Janet just going all over the map, using her excellent move speed to place wards basically everywhere, and definitely you can see that both teams know where the other team is boarding similar wards in middle, top, and bottom. So definitely similar map control right now as far as their site is concerned. But like you mentioned, Dragon will be coming up here in about a minute. And now that Unstoppable X and Takashi X are in the jungle, they will be attempting to counter jungle one more blue buff.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Galio actually looked like he popped a teleport down onto that ward to steal the blue buff. So they had that time, they had that all set and ready, and they know that Dragon will be up in that 1 minute. So bottom lane's going to be falling back. Lee Sin looks like he's going to be staying around the bottom parts of his jungle, even though it seems to be a little bit barren right now. And Galio is going to be going back to the middle, but I expect him to converge down on that Dragon, and a couple more seconds, we're probably going to see a motion for it, and then prepare and take it as easily as they did last time. But excellent timers, excellent ward coverage coming out of V8 right now, and that's just keeping them at this advantage, even though Nautilus is starting to catch up out of the jungle and is actually coming into counter jungle Lee Sin now, you know, doing his own sort of counter jungle thing now. It's just so interesting to see how back and forth this game is, but still in V8's favor. They have the gold advantage. They are tied in kills right now, but the timers and the early game advantage of knowing when things are up and what's going to be going on when is just too much for them right now. But we see a gank coming down in here as Nautilus popping that depth charge and a dredge line at the same time down on Triesco. Triesco is going to melt almost instantaneously to the 4 powers of Jpak and friends. Muffin Cutie does not look very long for this world as she is going to fall. Actually, Jpak getting revenge for the last little support encounter in the middle where he got a stun up but did not get the kill. So get a little support revenge on that one. So a 2 for none, and now that gives Jpak and friends free access to this Dragon. As I said, V8 looked like they wanted to be going in position for it. They got caught, they got countered, and now Jpak and friends might wind up taking on this Dragon if Lee Sin does not get a very, very nice steal on here. I do think his smite is up, so we could see Lee Sin trying something fancy, but Rise coming in from the middle lane is going to deter him and Gallia, so it looks like Jpak and friends, a relatively uncontested and unfought for Dragon, is now they're ahead by 2 kills, evening up the gold counts, only down by about 300 right now, and even on the top lane, Aurelia is starting to get the best of Olaf, so V8, with the huge advantages they had in the early game, seem to almost be falling apart right now.
Yeah, I think they really tried for a too aggressive of a counter jungling regime. Bottom lane, that was really, really bad positioning there from Trieskimo. You know, they saw Nautilus coming down from, through their jungle all the way to bottom lane. They saw him there, and, Janna and Graves went up to cut him off, but Rise came down and cut off Trieskimo's escape path and just burst him down almost immediately. And so once Graves went down, they popped the exhaust onto Janna, and that was about all she wrote. So it looks like, we're going to see Kenneth running up there to place one more ward. Aurelia was going down there, so they might have tried to join up and do something, but now that Lexfink is rolling around there from top lane, it looks like Lee Sin's going to hold that, but they will ping there onto Olaf as he does enter the enemy jungle. He's rolling around here with Unstoppable X. They know the timers for, I believe it's Red Buff that's going to come up next. He did throw the axe over there, so they don't quite know that, and with the Sonic Wave over the wall, Lee Sin will know that basically none of Nautilus's jungle is up right now.
They're even starting to falter in those timers. We saw them all going for that red buff, thinking that it was going to be up sometime soon, but it was not. On the bottom lane, having all these 3 people going in for a very big counter jungle attempt, and actually a little bit of an engagement here. The bottom tower did fall. Now they're falling on the Nautilus as I find him in the jungle rather than his buffs. Now they're also switching out into Kendrick's Rise as he's getting extremely, extremely low. Dredgeline's going to get Nautilus out of there, but he's going to try to turn back in on this Olaf as he picks up a kill onto Kendrick's Rise. Unstoppable is getting extremely low, but a very nice Janna ultimate saving him and healing him back up. They're going to try to pincer this Aurelia, but a nice flash over the wall towards red buff. Oh, but an ultimate from Lee Sin kicks Tarek into Aurelia. That's going to stop her just long enough for Gallia to finish her off with a couple moves. So another kill being picked up by V8. A 2 for none currently in this fight, as even Janna was surviving as the big bad Nautilus is trying to close down on top of her. She lived through that one, and a very nice engagement as that red buff they just wanted so bad eventually does indeed go to Olaf.
Man, exhaust is so good. You can see as soon as Aurelia jumped into that fight, instantaneously exhausted, and that's just exactly how, this perfect play, because she definitely could have gotten a couple of kills. We did see a couple members from V8 drop ridiculously low, but now it's really turned back into V8's favor, and by V8's favor, I mean it's basically back to even. Sure, they're up a little bit in the gold count. They did actually take down the first turret of the game. Bottom lane, it looks like their mid turret is, Jpak and Friends mid turret is really, really low, so there are a few sort of hidden advantages as far as the farm, the low turrets are concerned. So I think V8's a little bit farther ahead than it actually looks like right now. But we'll see if, just like we saw once before, that if Jpak and Friends can come back from being down with the early disadvantage.
Yeah, indeed. That middle tower is the only remaining outer turret for Jpak and Friends left standing. The top turret and bottom turret both fell Bottom turret before that engagement in the jungle, top turret just shortly after that one. So that about 3k-ish gold advantage in favor of V8, definitely going to be coming through heavily those 2 turrets that they have, whereas Jpak and friends have absolutely none. So they do have the advantage of lane pressure. Checking on the ward coverage, though, both teams doing an excellent job warding back up. Jpak and friends actually doing a little bit better of a job as they have the entirety of their own jungle and their river warding, knowing that Unstoppable X likes to do stuff like try to come in and steal this blue buff, and they are showing extreme patience, waiting in that bush over by blue buff, waiting for V8 to make their move before they actually go to take the blue buff, and just trying to collapse down on V8, letting their kind of over-eagerness and counter-jungling tendencies get the best of them. Let's see right here, Kalma is actually laying down some living artillery, trying to poke out and feel where they are going to be coming from, and here they go. The blue buff has been lured out. Lee Sin keeps wailing away on that one. Depth charge goes off, hitting 3 of the 4 members of the team down there. However, Olaf, this is pure damage, going to melt down that Nautilus immediately. Galio picks up a kill on that Taric. We have a lot of actions. The fight is now split. 2 people running up top, but the rest of the team from V8 decides to fall down on this Aurelia, who looked like she got caught in a smoke screen, an axe, and 2 wards in the same place. So that Aurelia was not getting out of there anytime soon. As another good fight goes in the favor of V8, 3-0. So even though Jpak doing a very good job of actually going to where they know V8 is going to be and trying to contest their game plan, V8 is just at this point right now, they're just a little bit too strong for Jpak and friends in a team fight scenario. They wind up with 3 kills, a blue buff, they took the red buff earlier, all 3 outer turrets are down, and things are looking extremely up for V8 right now.
And man, yeah, V8 definitely kind of threw that team fight. They had split focus, whereas the focus from, or actually Jpak was throwing that. V8 had perfect focus. You just saw Graves instantaneously focus down, you know, everybody from V8. You know, it was Graves, Olaf that did basically 90% of that damage. And then you saw Takashi get off an absolutely amazing ult, which just facilitated that as well. As soon as he was stunned out of that ult, just did that burst damage that you saw, perfectly coordinated with Graves and Olaf, and just, wow, doing so much damage. Aurelia is 1-4 right now, and after an early advantage that she had against Olaf, I would, you know, dare say that that is a little bit gone.
This Olaf actually already being farmed up to his Warmog's armor. So he's going to be extremely, extremely tanky in these fights. Most likely going to be going for that Atma's Impaler, and then they have that new item, the Maw of Malamortis, I believe it is, which I would absolutely love to see Olaf picking up after the Atma's Impaler, just to really capitalize on the sheer amount of damage he can output, on top of the true damage from his Reckless Swing. But yes, we saw him and Aurelia bullying each other around in that top lane. Once like level 6 kind of hit the mark though, Olaf really started getting the better of that Aurelia, and even just taking a quick look at the farm counts, 128 to 129, it's pretty much dead even, except for the fact that Olaf with 3 kills, Aurelia with 1. I think Olaf wound up winning that lane.
Oh yeah, definitely. As far as the kills are concerned, at least, especially since Aurelia's build is going to be a little bit more spread out. You did see her go double Dorans just to try to get as much of an advantage as she could at that time. But now those Dorans are going to start to fall off, and they did prevent her from already having her Frozen Mallet. So whereas you know, Lexfink went for a little bit of a weaker start by not getting those Dorans, but then also was able to pick up his Warmogs. Now it looks like, wow, Azulal getting dropped down really low there by just a couple of 3 spells there from Olaf, so he's going to be forced to back out. I think it's interesting that Afromu won't be playing this game. They opted for Lexfink, and you know, maybe a little bit less, you know, one of the less known players, but he has been doing so much work this game, just getting so much just burst damage out, being that really a high priority focused character, and just really tanking it up there and allowing the rest of the team to do the damage that it has been doing so far.
Yeah, it was very interesting too, because that Olaf did not even go for a Wriggle's Lantern for sustain in lane. He just went straight for the Warmog's armor. So he got his Merc Treads first, Warmog's armor second, and he's just prioritizing the big items, not going for any sustainability or survivability in lane. Where that Aurelia, as you mentioned, with those double Dorans is now starting to fall off because of that. So very interesting item choice, a little bit of a risky one from Olaf, but it definitely paid off in dividends, as now he is quite literally putting a lot of V8's pressure on his back, as he's able to run in there and just melt down the targets that they absolutely need to kill. And now V8 positioning themselves over here by this Baron. We see Jpak and friends attempting to try to chase after him, but they don't want to be walking into a trap, and V8 deciding they don't want to really Baron bait right now. They just kind of want to set everything back up in the lanes. Graves is going to be farming in the middle for a little bit. Looks like Lee Sin's going to be coming over here donating a blue buff to Galio to reduce those cooldowns, get him that mana regeneration. That cooldown on Galio's ultimate, very long, but with that blue buff we see 144 seconds down to 114 seconds. So Galio's going to be all set and prepared for this fight, and maybe even the next one, so much sooner than you would expect him to be.
Yeah, and I definitely think, initially I was a little bit skeptical about the way that Janna and Takashi X's Galio would interact, but it looks like Janna just excellent coordination, not screwing anything up, and just giving Galio the opportunity to pop some absolutely amazing ults, taking the focus off of higher priority targets and just onto his back, and with that bulwark and a lot of the extra magic resist that he has stacked up, it is going to be so hard to get any damage done. You're going to have to find some way of CCing him out of his ult almost instantaneously, and then immediately trying to pop, it looks like Graves, which has been doing ridiculous amounts of damage. That and Olaf, although focusing somebody that does have almost 3,000 hit points is never a good idea.
No, it definitely is not, but that might wind up having to be the case as Olaf is dealing sheer amounts of damage. We did take a quick look at this Graves over here. He has his Infinity Edge and his Zeal up, so he's going to start dishing out as much damage, if not more, than Olaf. Even though it's not true damage, it's critical strike damage, and we all know that critical strike can deal ridiculous amounts of damage regardless of what level you are and how much HP you have. This Rise, however, the 127 armor, he's starting to get to that tanky kind of portion. He has not finished his Glacial Shroud yet, but as soon as we see that, and maybe if this game lasts long enough, picking up that Frozen Heart, then Olaf and Graves, those two AD characters, or the true damage characters as Olaf will be, are going to be doing a little bit less damage, whereas that Kog'Maw starting to scale up. Now, he has his Zeal, but unfortunately, he has a Wriggles Lantern. He went for sustainability as much as that Aurelia did with double Doran's Blade on top of it. So he has not even finished a Phantom Dance yet. He has no really big damage-dealing items, no BF Sword, no finished BF Sword items at all. So, unfortunately, Jpak and friends just look like they don't have the damage output necessary to really turn these team fights in their favor.
Yeah, definitely, especially like that Olaf Graves combo, just such massive damage. I mean, it's all attack damage, so they could mitigate it somewhat with armor, but A, lots of it is true damage from Olaf, and B, if you ignore that, you still have Takashi X's Galio, who already has 393 move speed. I actually thought that was AP per second, but 178, 181 now AP, and all that magic resist, just making him such a threat in both categories.
Yeah, definitely, and not to mention the taunt that's going to be coming out of him. So as soon as they focus down all that damage, just not enough to melt down the champions on the extremely tanky Galio, who's then going to burst it out with the ridiculous amounts of AP he has back onto them. They are not going to be very, very long for this world. So it looks like there may be a team fight over this top tower. We're definitely going to have to see how this one goes as Nautilus is leading the charge, but then deciding to back off. Aurelia looks like she took a little bit of damage, and now a Galio Q coming down, doing some decent AoE damage. Kog'Maw is in the fray now, trying to lay down things with Living Artillery. A missed Dredge line from Nautilus is the missed initiation that Jpak and friends may have needed. Galio's going to be hunting around this bush. He wants to go in there. He wants to pop that ultimate. They want to finish this game, it looks like, after this team fight. Everybody is staying around the top here. They're doing a little bit of dances, the taunts and dances and shift ones and shift twos, oh my, going off in front of this tower, but neither team is budging an inch. Nautilus looks like he wants to go in for an initiation, and a missed Olaf axe means that neither are going to be going in on this. Now a Q from Lee Sin on the rise, but he wisely backs up behind the tower, so nothing else is going to happen. Look at the amount of poke coming out between these two teams, though.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. I mean, Galio Poke seems to be the most effective one so far. Onion Bagel already around almost half health, as he basically has no items. He even turned one of his gold profiles into a Shirelia's. I'm not sure if that was necessarily the greatest choice, as basically, yeah, he hasn't even completed 2-speed boots yet, so that's definitely going to matter here coming up in this next fight. He is getting burst down all the way down to under 1,000 health, and wow, look at that poke just coming out from Takashi X. It's just poking everybody down behind that turret. Galio is just camping that bush because nobody can initiate while Galio is in that bush, because then they're just going to get ulted, burst down by the AoEs from Tree Eskimo and Unstoppable X, plus the true damage from Lexfang. And I really think that now that Jpak and friends have been forced to go back, that will mean that this turret will unfortunately for them, go to V8. Now V8 is going to back off, probably hit that red buff timing, grab that, and then maybe look to either pressure mid to get a tower or back off for a Baron after maybe trying to trap a few members of Jpak and friends out of position.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be just waiting in the jungle. They know that red buff is up. Extremely good positioning. Now Jpak and friends just following in a conga line, and that is the initiation that they wanted to. Galio still has not popped his ultimate. Massive damage coming down. There it is, grabbing all 5 members of Jpak and friends. Look at the damage it's dealing as it melts down that Nautilus. Graves and Lee Sin are going to finish off Aurelia and Rise respectively. Olaf decides to run after that Taric. He is going to melt him down. No problem. An ace coming out. A 5 for none as this Kog'Maw explosion probably not going to melt down that Olaf. He looks low, but that's still probably like 16 million HP due to that Warmog's armor right now. So a 5 for none. coming out of Team V8. It looks like they want to push down this top tower. They want to push down the inhibitor, try to deal as much damage as possible, as currently everyone from Jpak is down for a little bit less than 10 seconds right now. Nautilus and Tarek are going to be the first ones up, so it's not even any sort of damage or anything that can stop this push from V8 right now. Aurelia and Rise will be up shortly after that, though, so very smart from V8 taking down this inhibitor. They're going to back off. They're going to group up out of the jungle, take the buffs, buy some items, take their advantage, and just ride it through probably in the next push.
Yeah, Takashi, Unstoppable, and Lex Vink all drop down below, well, basically 20-30% of their health, but for Olaf, that was still almost 1,000 health, so Olaf just ridiculously tanky, going up to almost 350 or 3350 health already, and so it looks like V8 is just going to take their massive gold advantage, already up above 10,000 gold. Go back, buy all the items that I need, but in that going back, they will allow an attempt, a desperation attempt, if you will, from Jpak and friends on this Baron, and even though actually no one, I believe, actually went back, and so V8 is a little bit lower on health, but look, Jpak already down, getting bursted down there by the true damage, by the burst there from Tree Eskimo. Onion Bagel will fall, and everybody from Jpak and friends getting crushed in this Baron attempt. Kog'Maw will finally die, almost taking out Tree Eskimo, but he will still leave a little bit of a fail flash, but a little bit of a fail engage there by Jpak and friends, and there comes out the 5-0 surrender from Jpak and friends. So congratulations to V8 for taking down Game 1.
Yes, indeed. It was a very, very awesome game from V8 as we saw they had an early advantage and almost lost it at a point. Nautilus being down in levels by about like 2 or so levels, then coming back to about a level and a half lead on top of Lee Sin out of the jungle. So very, very nice job of V8 not, playing it too aggressively, just making sure they kept falling back on their strategy of counter jungling, stealing the enemy's buffs, and warding like a maniac, and completely taking advantage of the map, taking control of the game, and eventually taking the victory because of that. At one point, this game was 4-2 in favor of Jpak and friends, and unfortunately for Jpak and friends, 4 was the amount of kills that they were going to have for the rest of the game, as the remaining 15 kills in that game went to V8, and they just rode that stride all the way to victory. So very nice game played from V8 and Jpak and friends. We gotta see if Jpak can kind of maybe pick a jungler that isn't so reliant on his blue buff this time, knowing that V8 likes to do that strategy against the Nautilus. Probably would do the same thing against an Amumu or someone like that too. So Jpak and friends, they still have Game 2 ahead of them to recuperate and come back and try to take this series from V8. But V8 looking super strong that game. It's definitely going to be a hard time for them to come back.